After hearing AJ's speech, his song Arizona, along with all the other interviews that he has done discussing his personal journey with mental health in life challenges, I feel like I need to come out and be honest with my audience of why the Backstreet Boys helped me with my depression. Because why was I depressed? Nobody knows why I was depressed. So, I'm going to tell you. I just want you to know. I have stated that I have a social work background and a music background. That is all 100% true. I got my bachelor's degree long time ago. I could have made the decision to get my master's in social work after I graduated with my bachelor's, but I chose not to. I began my master's in social work in May of 2020, and I could have graduated in August of 2022. I was doing it part-time. But I ran into searching for a field placement to begin May of 2021. Of course, we were in COVID. That made it difficult. What occurred was I was going to be starting my field placement late. I should have began it on May of 2021. So I've gone to several interviews, and I got turned down. I did an interview via Zoom, and then I did an in-person interview, and I met with another woman. And this organization told me on June 21st that I had the position. June 22nd, I got an email stating, "I'm sorry, we don't have enough hours for you." So like in a matter of 24 hours, I went from, "Oh yes, yay! I got a placement, finally!" all the way up to all the way down. And just like in a matter of 24 hours, it was on a high to an absolute low. Well, my absolute low became almost a depressive episode. It lasted through July 4th. July 4th was my last day. And then I finally said, "Laura, you've got to get up." So I didn't go anywhere on that July 4th. I stayed home. And you will see the slideshow that I have on depression. Because remember, I was going for my master's in social work. Listen to that. I was. So that's past tense. Here you will see a list of depressive disorders. Many of them you will not recognize, but the one that is most known about is major depressive disorder. Of the 9 possible symptoms, those that are highlighted in red are the symptoms that I was experiencing. However, I did not have a major depressive episode, which must be 2 weeks. It lasted for a week and a half. And so you can see I had a depressed mood, feels sad, hopeless. I didn't have any energy, didn't have any pleasure wanting to participate in any activities. I basically wanted to just lay on my bed, roll up, and just basically cry. Everyone gets depressed, but this was like, I didn't want to do a thing. I had never experienced anything so low at all. I knew that this was seriously like major depression. There are 2 other symptoms that are stated, but these are not things that I had. All of this information has come from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the 5th edition. So as a person that had epilepsy and it wasn't controlled, I had a very difficult time finding jobs, then losing jobs because of disability, and then having to fight to get money because they were discriminatory because of my disability on 2 different occasions. And then I search for jobs and I can't find jobs. So that's how I got into the travel business. And so here I am with wanting to get my degree in social work, and I'm struggling with internships and finding them. So it's like the same thing repeating. The field placement, search, and transfer of colleges, and the 2 field instructors I had, and working with the dean, fighting for what I thought was right, made me take a year off. And that year off was 2023. And it was in January of 2024 that I had to make the decision if I was going to return back to school. And I didn't make that decision. I made the decision to be here on YouTube. But just recently, I am, if you do not know, a Uconn basketball fan. With the Uconn men winning back-to-back championships, you know that the coach, Dan Hurley, has had so many interviews. And once again, on YouTube, I just came across this a couple of days ago. Here, I want to show you the clip that speaks to me in regards to my walking away from getting my degree in social work.
Kind of beat up at that point in my life. When I really look back at the college experience, it was all the way around. It was just a major disappointment, just a major disappointment. I don't ever want to feel like that about myself ever again. And, like just knowing how bad it can be for you when you're not functioning at a high level as a human being, right? Like the personal life, professionally, what you're doing, the relational things, a marriage, family life, how important all those things are to how you feel about yourself and how you're functioning.
So you proposed on the expectation that you guys would likely end up living together overseas, but what makes you decide all of a sudden one day, I'm not going to show up to the airport to go play, I'm not going to answer the calls, asking, where I am.
Where are you? Yeah. I just knew I was tapped at that point,
And tapped meaning what?
I knew I didn't want to play basketball anymore.
What?
It had become just a painful experience. I was a shell of myself, of the player that entered college. I was too beaten up at that point. I was not in love with the game that way from a playing standpoint. And then I don't know. I think maybe deep down in my mind, when I really look at it, I knew that I was going to stay in basketball. I knew that my gift was knowing the game, and obviously growing up in the household with the Hall of Fame coach, that I had incredible training to become a coach and a leader at that point. I'd found a woman that I had loved, that I fell in love with, and that I was getting ready to marry. And I had my career as a basketball coach was what I needed to turn my attention to. So probably deep down inside, I probably knew what to do.
What do you think gave you that self-confidence to make that decision? Because probably would have been easier just to stick with what you know.
It was safe. I mean, I was guaranteed, at worst, if I stayed in that pre-draft process, at worst, I was set up to go and make really good money, playing basketball around the globe, making great money for 8 or 10 years or 12 years, however I wanted to do it. And I was good enough to do it, but I was just, I didn't want to play anymore. I think just the dark moments as a player that basketball took me to, from a playing standpoint, I was, it took almost everything I had to get to the finish line in college, to come back from quitting the team and coming back. For me, I felt like the finish line was my last Big East game against Uconn, where, as ironic as that would be, like I played one of my worst games in my last college game versus the Uconn Huskies at the Big East tournament. So that probably was a fitting way for it to end.
And you knew, though, at that time that was it?
I mean, I went through the motions with agents and was not working out like whatsoever leading up to the pre-draft camp in Virginia. So like every other player, I remember Adrian Griffin, who graduated the same year with me, who played in the NBA, was doing like 2 or 3 a days in the rec center and in the gym and working out with his trainer. And I was doing like 2 a days, like at like Paulie's in the hall at night, just hanging out, enjoying my last time in college with all my friends, because I think I was not committed to wanting to play, and I wanted to have my last good times.
So this clip that Dan Hurley is speaking about he's basically saying that, yeah, he wasn't a great college basketball player. And when I heard him say that, like, he couldn't go overseas to play basketball, he just didn't have any interest in playing basketball, because he could have made money, and even though he wasn't, a great player like his brother, Bobby Hurley, from Duke. That made me think about me and YouTube. I chose YouTube. I'm not making any money, but what I am doing is helping people. And that makes me happy. I may not have gotten that master's in social work. I had a total of maybe 5 classes to finish. That including is a second specialist field placement. So I was almost finished with my degree. And I still have the opportunity to return by 2027. I don't know if that will occur or not. But I was like, oh my God, Dan Hurley, was in such a bad position as a player and emotionally a wreck. Yeah, I went to therapy. I tried to work through this. I feel like this is trauma. Maybe, to me, traumatic. Because I did not do my first field placement until September 29th of 2022. Remember, I was supposed to begin my first field placement in May of 2021, but I didn't start it until September 29th of 2022, and I had to squeeze in all my hours. And in both places, I did not have a good field instructor. This field instructor, my field advisor, I was put into a place where I was stuck. Well, if I stay here, this field instructor is just going to give me another marginal pass. If I get another marginal pass, I get thrown out of school. But I haven't gained the knowledge that I was supposed to in my first semester of field placement. So how am I supposed to move on to my second year of field placement, my specialist year, which is another 2 semesters, and be confident in myself that I can do whatever it is I'm going to do, but I was not going to stay where I was at. So I took a leave of absence. I did not expect it to be a full year. I was still trying to figure things out in therapy. It just kept on being pushed down and ignored, and then finally closer to the end of 2023 is when it really got more spoken about seriously. But in the end, that was my decision. In regards to what Dan Hurley said, I feel that I've got this music background. I'm classically trained in music. The Backstreet Boys is the major force in helping me with this deeper depression that I had ever felt before. And because of that reason, I feel like music can really help in one's mental health. And I know that because I was interested in music therapy. But when I was in college, that didn't exist. But as time has progressed, during that 2023, I looked into music therapy, and it would have taken me 2 years. I hope that you have a better understanding of where I am coming from and why I'm doing what I want to do. And you will learn why this is so important to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about my story. Do you have your own story of yours that you might want to share? Is there any musician or other maybe sports figure that you find to be inspiring? Because even though this is a music focused channel, it's called Music Uplift, so music is uplifting. It says and inspiration. So inspiration can come from other people, other maybe organizations you are associated with. So it doesn't have to be musicians. It can also be a sports figure like someone I had mentioned, Simone Biles. I did gymnastics. I just want to say that I am so very proud of Dan Hurley being one of the 50 most influential sports icons. He 100% deserves it, and he is 100% an inspirational person that I look up to. What would you like to see from this channel in the future? I definitely have other ideas of where I want to go with this channel. And I want it to expand so that we're not just focused on boy bands or individuals from boy bands. As much as I love the Backstreet Boys and their songs, because that's what's important to me, is the lyrics and what does it mean to you. I am open to dive into more mental health, because mental health is so important in today's world. It does not matter what your age is. And I want to create that community where we can share conversations of what is it that we're dealing with today. I was just talking about how I felt when I actually felt so depressed. I never felt so down in my life before. But that doesn't mean that I don't deal with stress, anxiety, and depression right now. That doesn't mean that I don't think about, confidence in myself, my self-worth, my self-esteem, thoughts that come into my head. Because thoughts can really hurt you in the long run. And we need to change those thoughts and be part of a community where we are all dealing with similar issues. And as AJ Mclean says in a podcast he did during COVID,
my friends and I started a Zoom AA meeting every day at 4:30. That's called Circle the Wagons.
He was on a Zoom at 4:30 every single day to continue their sobriety. So I'm trying to continue this more positive thinking of ourselves and thinking about our overall mental health. As I said, I have ideas of what I want to do in the future that includes talking about composing and different songs and talking about how the Backstreet Boys really did help me with my depression and go more in depth on that. I still would like to do some music reaction videos, and they might just, be with related to Simone Biles. Please share your thoughts, opinions, and take care, guys. Hope you're having a great day.